Hey, thanks. Great to be here.
All righty. Hey, I want to dive into this because I know that you have quite a lot of different products that you put out there via the internet, and one of them is about, I think you call it conversational hypnotherapy or something like that. But it's really taking everyday conversations and to help people influence other people. And so my question to you is, can you really use hypnosis to influence others?
Yes, you can. And the interesting thing you find out once you get into the program is the main way you influence others is by working on yourself. You make yourself more confident, and other people respond to that.
Interesting. You know what? That's so interesting to me because you're saying really the first step is to work on ourselves, like confidence, and people respond to that more than anything else.
Oh, absolutely. That's the number one thing. There are also specific ways to influence someone outside of working on yourself in terms of confidence. But yeah, really, the way you look at yourself is the way the world looks at you.
Interesting. The minute you said this thing about confidence and how people respond to it, I thought about some of these, some of these people you see on TV, like Donald Trump, who's known to be confident / almost to the point of arrogance, but people respond to that level of confidence because everything he knows, he'll tell you it's the best I've ever done. This is great. We're going to be very successful. Whether it happens that way or not, that's the way he kind of promotes it. And he's one of these guys who is confident / charismatic, and people respond to that all the time.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you take two speakers on stage and one is kind of saying, well, would you like to accept my offer? They usually have offers afterwards when speakers are at a seminar.
Right.
And one says, I'm sure that you're going to benefit from this offer. I want you to take advantage of it. Well, the one who is confident about it and believes that it's something good for the consumer is going to sell more. So it's the same thing in our everyday lives. We're always selling ourselves in one way or another, whether it's dating or direct sales or just seeing if people like us. If we believe in ourselves and what we're doing, that speaks volumes, and it actually influences other people.
Absolutely. All right, give me an example. How can people use hypnosis in everyday conversation?
Well, what we call hypnosis, we call it waking hypnosis, and it's not technically, it's not hypnosis. Hypnosis would be where you're putting someone into a trance, relaxing them, getting them to drift off, and then you're giving them suggestions. So we call it waking hypnosis because it has a lot of similarities to hypnosis. But one of the ways that you can use is something from the world of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, which is anchoring. Now, if you want someone to believe something about you, that you have certain attributes, and the assumption is that you do have these attributes and you are a good person, you're not going to use this technology to make anyone do anything bad, so to speak. But all you have to do is when you use the word, let's say you want them to believe you're motivated. When you say the word motivated, all you have to do is touch the area that's within a 1-foot radius of your solar plexus. So, for example, if I'm talking about someone else, I'm saying, John is very motivated. When I say the word motivated, if I'm touching that area, I can adjust my tie. If I have one, if I have a necklace, I can touch it. If I touch anywhere within a 1-foot radius of my solar plexus while I'm saying the word motivated, it creates an association, just like Pavlov's dogs. He could ring a bell and let them smell meat powder. Eventually, all he had to do is ring the bell. So it's kind of like you're ringing the bell and by pointing to yourself. You're drawing attention to yourself, and it happens at a subliminal level.
I love it. I could see, what do you call it, something that simple working because, like you said, it's like Pavlov's law there, that you can condition somebody over time. So every time you play with your tie or adjust your tie, that person would either think of you being motivated, or you yourself are going to change your physiology, your state, to be more motivated, correct?
Yes, it can work that way too. You can set up a long-term anchor for that, or just in the very moment when you're referencing yourself, you're pointing to yourself when you're saying the word motivated, so they're going to associate the word motivation with yourself. The touching yourself in that area acts as a reference to you. It sort of works as a big arrow pointing to you in their subconscious minds. and they're thinking the word motivation because that's the word you're saying, and it's pointing to you. So in that very moment, it's creating the association.
I love it. I love it. Let me ask you this, because I think we touched on this last time you were on the show, and I want to kind of revisit this. How can people write hypnotically? Walk me through this.
Well, one of the ways that it can be done, and this gets into a lot of clever writing, one of the ways it can be done is through analog marking. Analog marking means that you're marking out certain words. So, for example, if I have a 3-word command that I want to give to you, such as sign this contract. Let's say I'm talking in a business setting and I want you to sign a contract. I don't use these techniques, by the way, but I do know them. I can say those words a little bit more loudly than the other words in a sentence or a paragraph. So, for example, if I construct a paragraph that has the words sign this contract in it, I say those words a little differently than the rest of the words. So, for example, my paragraph may go something like this. I was driving down the road the other day and I saw a sign. I'm saying these purposely differently than the rest. You'd say them slightly differently. I was driving down the road yesterday and I saw a sign and I thought to myself, well, isn't this funny? And then I remembered the contract that was in the back seat. So I'm purposely overemphasizing them, but you get the point. I'm saying the words sign this contract a little more loudly or differently. So if we translate that to writing, for those words, we can use a different font or a slightly larger font. So in other words, there's a paragraph that they're reading, and in there would be those words, but those words are of a just very slightly different font. It doesn't have to be a bigger font, just a different font, or perhaps they're bolder or a little lighter than the rest of the words. Well, your subconscious mind sees those words as being a unit since they're all similar and they're all different from the rest of the words, and so it strings them together as a command.
You know, that's so cool because you could see that, again, in a marketing email or direct letter or something like that something like that would work, especially in a situation where you have a long copy and you're going to repeat it over and over again. You could see how using that kind of technique is going to help you convert more sales.
Absolutely. And I do not use these techniques, but they are demonstrated to actually work.
I love it. All right, let me ask you this. Can hypnosis help people overcome fear, like the fear of public speaking?
Oh, absolutely. Public speaking, as I understand it, is still ahead of death in terms of fears that people have. People do not want to get up in front of people and talk. They'd rather die than talk in front of people in most cases. So absolutely. Hypnosis just relaxes you to just a relaxed state of mind. And in that state of mind, you can reprogram certain things. You can see yourself successfully delivering a speech. You can see yourself being calm on stage or in front of whatever audience you're addressing. And you can do this practice, if you will, in your subconscious mind before you actually do it. Well, as we know from exercise research, anytime you practice something and imagine doing it, actual signals are sent to the muscles in your body that would be involved. In this case, it would be perhaps your hands, making hand gestures, obviously your face, because your mouth has to move when you talk. And so you actually get some level of practice doing this, mental practice and some level of physical practice, so that when you finally do it, and it's already gone well in your practice, you feel confident. It's not as if it's the first time you're doing it successfully. It's the 10th or 20th time, or however many times you've gone through this scenario with the hypnosis recording or with a hypnotherapist.
Yeah, you know what, and I'm glad you brought that up, because most of us practice probably the reverse of that. They there's so many people that get themselves in a state of fear because they're seeing themselves fail, and they're seeing themselves mess up on stage or mess up in a presentation, or they just see themselves failing, and therefore they have practiced failure like 1,000 times before they do anything.
Absolutely. Richard Bandler, one of the founders of neurolinguistic programming, used to point out that people create pictures in their heads, and those pictures usually aren't pretty pictures. If they're afraid of flying, you can imagine the pictures they create in their heads of things not going well. And so that's what people do with public speaking or anything else. And so they're essentially seeing this movie over and over before it happens, and they think that that's reality, when actually that has nothing to do with reality. That's just something in their heads. So the trick is, of course, to change the pictures and the thoughts in general, the words that you're using, any thoughts that you have associated with the event, change it to something positive.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you this, because earlier in the segment we were talking about confidence. What about hypnosis when it comes to confidence? Can hypnosis help people gain more confidence?
Oh, absolutely. Again, we can use some NLP tricks, some NLP techniques, neurolinguistic programming, which Richard Bandler and John Grinder created. One of them, again, to go back to anchoring, if you think of a time when you were very confident in your life, think of a time when you felt on top of the world. You felt very, very calm inside, yet you knew that you were a good person, you were confident, etc. You just felt good. And then get yourself in a peak state, meaning remember the sights, the sounds, the smells, the tastes, everything associated with that event when you felt confident. And then just create an anchor. The easiest one is to make the OK sign with your right hand and say the word confident to yourself. Well, you have created an anchor. So anytime you need confidence in the future, all you have to do is make the OK sign with your right hand and say the word confident, and you're brought back to those memories. Again, it's like Pavlov's dogs. You're just conditioning yourself. So you have a conditioned response that when you make the OK sign and say the word confident, that's going to remind you of the time in which you were confident. So you can bring that into the future with you.
I love it. You know what? It's something that I remember studying with from NLP is that in a lot of cases, because you mentioned the word conditioning, a lot of us have to sometimes go back and recondition the way we think. It's not always set it and forget it. Sometimes, things happen and we get off of track, for lack of better terms, and we have to go back and we have to set these conditions or recondition these feelings once again. Am I correct?
Oh, absolutely. It could use a little tuning up. As Tony Robbins says, we're kind of like a piano. We can go out of tune every now and then. So it's always best to go back and reinstall the anchor, make it more powerful. Or if you have an example from your everyday life, let's say you've set an anchor for confidence, like I just described, but then you have something happen to you which makes you feel really good. Well, you can anchor it then and there. You can make the OK sign and say the word confident right then and there when you're feeling confident in that moment. That's even better than reconstructing something. So that's a way to make sure that the anchor stays strong over time by redoing it every now and then.
You know what a great technique there, Steve, because we're all having great things happen to us all the time. And what if we took that second or two to anchor or condition ourselves so we're, like you said, you're building confidence or you're building good feelings or whatever, and now you're layering all these good feelings, all these confident feelings over and over again over time, then just think of the power that you would have over yourself because you're doing this on a routine basis.
Absolutely. You just become more and more confident until you're finally at the place you want to be. And of course, that has tremendous rewards. You start making better decisions because they're decisions that aren't catering to everyone else. They're decisions that actually benefit you and are what you want to do. And your whole life begins to change shape because you start to make decisions that are more along the lines of what you're really about.
Right. Hey, let me ask you this, because last time you were on the show, we talked about one of the myths of hypnosis is, getting people to do what they don't want to do. In other words, if they would never consider doing XYZ, hypnosis is not going to make them do XYZ. Is correct?
Right. You won't violate your morals.
Right. Okay. So I know because I go to your website on a regular basis, SteveGJones.com, SteveGJones.com, and in there you have like the world's biggest library that I've ever seen, from everything from stop binge eating to controlling alcohol to master the art of listening, and literally just about every topic under the sun is at SteveGJones.com. So here's my question: if I'm a binge eater, can I stop binge eating through hypnosis, or am I going to have a conflict there What's your thought?
Yes, you absolutely can stop binge eating through hypnosis, and you have to realize it's triggered by insecurities. It's triggered by a desire to be overweight. A lot of times when I work with people who are overweight, in about week 3, they start binge eating, and they think, oh my goodness, it's working the opposite way. I'm eating more junk food than ever. And I say, relax, that's normal. It's your body. It's your mind responding and causing your body to attempt to get you back where you feel comfortable. Usually there's a payoff when people are overweight. They don't want to lose weight, but they don't realize the subconscious payoff until about week 3. So it's a normal process, then we work through it. Binge eating has also become very popular lately among medical doctors. It's in the recent DSM manual. Binge eating disorder, BED, is actually a disorder now. So psychologists and psychiatrists can bill for that, can treat someone clinically for it, and bill insurance for it. So it's become recognized as something that is legitimate. It's not just a matter of overeating every now and then. What separates binge eating disorder from just eating more is that you don't necessarily want to do it and you don't necessarily desire it while you're doing it. It's not fun for you, and you're almost doing it without any control over it. And hypnosis actually can step in and offer a resolution for that.
I love that. I love that. You know what? And the other thing, and the reason why I'm going to give out your website again is stevegjones.com, because there's so many things there. One of the things that I love about your website is that just about you've taken the time to figure out just about every possible, obstacle that that somebody might have. Things like how to relax, overcoming fear of public speaking, easing sadness, increasing self-esteem. And you mentioned self-esteem several times today's segment, which really, if our self-esteem is high and we're feeling good about ourselves, we make different choices versus when we're feeling, low about ourselves, right?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of our lives are determined by how we feel about ourselves, how we think our lives are supposed to be, what we think we're worthy of, how much money we think we're supposed to make, the attractiveness of the partner we think we're supposed to be with, the beauty of the car we think we're supposed to have, things along those lines. So when we change our self-esteem level, everything else rises. It's like when water rises, everything rises. So it's not as if we're living a bad life or anything like that. Maybe we're very happy with our lives. But if people want to make a change, if they look around their lives and say, this could be better, then a lot of it has to do with self-esteem, which can be affected by hypnosis.
I love it. Hey, Steve G. Jones, thank you so much for stopping by. Always good stuff.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.